Welcome to Graveyard Mile, where the past never stays buried, and every story has a chill waiting for you. If you love late-night mysteries, haunted places, and spine-tingling legends, you're in the right place. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a walk through the shadows. The church had been abandoned for 50 years. Locals called it St. Marrow's Hollow, a place where prayers went to die. No one could quite say when the last sermon was held. Only that, one rainy Sunday, the congregation entered but never came out. The sheriff found the pews splintered, hymnals burned, and claw marks gouged deep into the altarway. They sealed the doors with heavy chains and welded crosses across the entrance. For decades, the place sat in silence, its black spire watching the town from the hill like a crooked finger pointing toward hell. But teenagers never stay away from ghost stories. Friday night, four friends in their early 20s drove up the narrow mountain road in a beat-up Ford Explorer. There was Jesse, the skeptic and ringleader, all bravado and beer cans. Maya, his girlfriend, a journalism student with a knack for chasing dark stories. Kyle, their nervous but loyal friend, filming everything for his YouTube channel, Haunt Hunters. And Hannah, quiet, curious, and nursing a fascination for the supernatural after her sister's mysterious death the year before. The fog thickened as they approached the church gates. The iron fence leaned like the bones of a ribcage, and the sign, once reading St. Marrow Church, now hung crooked. The last three letters rusted away. Kyle set up his camera. All right, viewers, it's midnight. We're standing outside the most haunted church in West Virginia. Rumor says if you step inside, the devil sends one of his brides to greet you. Bride of Christ gone wrong, Jesse laughed. Perfect clickbait. Maya frowned. Stop. This isn't funny. But she followed him anyway. They pushed through the bent gates. The gravel crunched under their boots, and a cold wind howled from somewhere deep within Hollow. The main doors loomed ahead, tall, arched oak, charred black around the edges, chained shut. Locked, Jesse muttered, shaking the handles. Kyle's flashlight caught a faint engraving on the door, Latin letters barely visible on the door. Intra in 5, EXI in damnation. What's it mean? Hannah asked quietly. Enter in faith, leave in damnation. Maya translated, goosebumps crawling up her arms. Before anyone could speak, the chain snapped with a metallic crack. No one had touched it. The doors creaked open. Inside, the air was thick with rot. Dust floated like ash in the beam of Kyle's flashlight. The pews were overturned, hymnals shredded, the altar cracked in two. Candles, long melted, clung to the floor like wax corpses. Jesus, Jesse muttered. Smells like a tomb. They spread out, filming. Hannah paused before a shattered stained glass window depicting the Virgin Mary. The face was blackened, but her eyes, the eyes were scratched out entirely. A sudden buzzing filled the air. The lights, still connected to no known power, began to flicker one by one, until a dim orange glow filled the sanctuary. Maya froze. There's no electricity here. The front doors slammed shut behind them with a thunderous bang. Kyle dropped his camera. What the hell? They rushed to the entrance, pulling, slamming, pushing, but the door wouldn't budge. The temperature dropped fast, their breath turning to fog. Then Jesse turned and froze. At the far end of the church stood a nun. Her habit was torn and black as soot. Her hands dangled at her sides, pale and stiff like marble. But her eyes glowed red, burning through the flickering light. Hello, Maya whispered. The nun didn't move. Then, with a wet crack of her neck, she vanished. Where did she go? Kyle shouted, spinning in circles with his flashlight. Shut up, shut up, Jesse hissed, scanning the pews. A low chant began to echo through the church, deep and guttural, as if a priest were reciting a mass from the grave. In nomine Domini, peccatum sanctorum. Maya clutched her crucifix. It's Latin, something about blood sin. The voice grew louder, then silence. Jesse stumbled backward, grabbing his head. Stop that noise. His eyes rolled white. The veins in his neck darkened. His skin turned chalk pale. Jesse, Maya screamed. He dropped to his knees, convulsing. Then he lifted his head, and his eyes were red. A grin split his face wide, unnaturally wide. His teeth bled. "Bless me, Father," he croaked in a voice that wasn't his, "for I have come to feed." He crawled toward them, spider-like, his limbs jerking, cracking as though his bones were rearranging. Maya backed away, crying. Kyle fumbled for his camera, but his hands shook too much. The nun's voice echoed through Jesse's mouth, deeper now, layered like a chorus. "You are mine now, children of doubt." Jesse lunged at Kyle, slamming him against a pew. Wood splintered, candles toppled. "Get off him!" Maya screamed, swinging a broken crucifix like a knife. It sliced Jesse's cheek, or whatever was inside him, and black blood hissed where it touched the air. Jesse laughed, the sound distorted. "You wound the body, but not the faith." He turned his head, too fast, too far, and fixed on Roshan's replacement, Kyle. "Confess your sin," the voice said. "I'll try to crawl away." "I don't believe." The nun's voice thundered through the church. "Then bleed for me." Jesse's hand shot out, grabbing Kyle by the throat. His fingernails elongated, piercing skin. Blood ran down Kyle's neck. And from the shadows, the nun appeared again, walking through the pews without touching the ground. Her tongue, impossibly long and black, slid across Kyle's wound, licking the blood as if savoring communion wine. Kyle screamed once, then silence. His body went limp. Maya and Hannah dragged each other toward the confessional booth, slamming the door shut. Inside, Hannah whispered, "She's using him. The nun's possessing him. She's feeding on our fear." Maya clutched her necklace. "We have to break it." The Latin, it said, "Enter in faith." Maybe faith is what weakens her. But Hannah's eyes widened. "I don't have any left." Outside, something dragged across the floor, a scraping of wood and bone. Jesse's voice echoed, taunting, "Do you confess your faith, little lambs?" Maya whispered prayers under her breath. The door handle turned slowly. Hannah held her breath. She can't enter sacred space. But the latch snapped. The door creaked open an inch. A red glow spilled in. Jesse stood outside, smiling with blood-stained teeth. His voice split in two, one human, one hellish. "Confession is for the living." Then, from above, the nun descended, crawling across the ceiling upside down, her face pale and cracked like porcelain. She whispered directly into Maya's ear, her voice both gentle and venomous. "Faith is not what saves you. It's what makes you delicious." The walls of the confessional began to shake. The crucifix hanging above inverted, dripping with fresh blood. Maya screamed. They fled up the narrow stairwell to the bell tower, Hannah dragging Maya by the arm. Below, Jesse's laughter followed them, echoing up the stone walls. "Ring the bell for your salvation." The bell rope hung frayed and blackened. Hannah turned to Maya. "If she's bound to the church, maybe the bell can drive her out. Holy metal, sacred resonance." Maya nodded, gripping the rope. "Then we ring it till she burns." They pulled. The bell groaned, rust screaming through the air. The sound reverberated like thunder. Below, Jesse shrieked. The nun screamed with him, her form flickering, light and shadow battling inside the nave. They pulled again. The bell rang louder. Windows shattered, but the last ring never came. The rope snapped. The bell, massive and cracked, fell from its beam, plummeting down through the church and smashing the altar below in an explosion of dust and stone. Silence. Then laughter. The nun rose from the rubble, her habit torn away, revealing hollow ribs that glowed with burning light. "You ring my death knell," she hissed, "and summon your own." The church began to bleed. From the walls, from the crucifix, from the floorboards. Dark crimson oozed from the cracks, covering the floor like a flood. The air thickened with a metallic stench. Hannah fell to her knees, whispering, "This is a desecration ritual. She's turning the church upside down, making it hers." Maya looked at the altar, where Jesse's body stood rigid, crucified in reverse, his eyes glowing like coals. "She needs a vessel," Maya said. "She can't stay in spirit form forever. She wants a new body." Jesse's mouth opened, blood pouring out. "One must be baptized in blood." The nun appeared behind him, whispering prayers in a dead tongue. Hannah screamed, pulling Maya toward the font at the entrance, a cracked marble bowl half filled with stagnant water. She dipped her hands in. Holy water, she gasped. Still consecrated. Maya tore off her cross and dropped it into the font. It hissed, glowing white. Faith, Maya said. Faith is what burns her. The nun screamed from across the church, sensing the purity. Jesse lunged forward, possessed, eyes blazing. Maya splashed the holy water. It hit his face, and steam erupted. He howled, clawing at his melting skin. The nun shrieked, her form flickering, splitting, one shape inside another, shadow within shadow. No faith shall stand. The candles exploded. The church trembled. The wooden beams caught fire first. The flames crawled up the stained glass, igniting the Virgin's blackened face. Smoke filled the air, suffocating, hot, holy in its destruction. Maya dragged Hannah toward the main doors, but they were still sealed shut. Jesse's body fell lifeless to the ground, empty. The nun hovered above him, her eyes blazing red, her form writhing like smoke. You will not leave, she hissed. You are my congregation now. Maya turned to Hannah. Pray. I told you, Hannah whispered, tears streaming. I don't believe anymore. Then believe in me. They clasped hands. The nun screamed and dove toward them, her claws outstretched. Maya lifted the font and hurled the remaining holy water into the air. It burst into steam, pure light. The church exploded with sound, a final toll of the bell echoing through the flames. The nun shrieked, dissolving into smoke, her voice echoing like 1,000 dying prayers. Epilogue. The morning after. When the fire trucks arrived at dawn, St. Marrow's church was gone. Only a blackened foundation and a single charred crucifix remained. They found 2 women unconscious outside the gates, Maya and Hannah. Jesse and Kyle were never found. The sheriff took their statements, shaking his head. Church burned itself from the inside, he muttered. Damn things cursed. Hannah looked at Maya, both wrapped in blankets. We made it out. Maya nodded, but her eyes drifted toward the ruins. The smoke rising from the ashes wasn't gray. It was red. And faintly, through the morning wind, came the sound of a bell ringing. Once, twice, then silence. 1 year later, Maya moved to Pittsburgh. She tried to rebuild, to forget. But nightmares persisted. The flickering lights, Jesse's red eyes, the nun's whisper, faith is what makes you delicious. One night, she woke to the sound of dripping. She followed it into the bathroom. The mirror was fogged. She wiped it clean. Behind her reflection stood a figure in black, pale face, red eyes glowing in the dark. The light flickered once. Then the bathroom door slammed shut,